850-848-0086. By the way, Jihad Campbell, who we had spoken with just days before the early signing period over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com, ends up signing with the Alabama Crimson Tide. So the triumvirate from IMG Academy, who were all at one point committed to Clemson, all end up signing elsewhere. Dalen Everett signed with Georgia. Keon Sabb signed with Michigan. None of the trio that were all invested in coming to Clemson University just a week ago before Brent Venables left, none of the trio of high school teammates even went to the same school to play together. And Brent Venables was asked if he tried to recruit Clemson players who decommitted. He said, "I have not continued to try to recruit guys. My relationship with Coach Swanny goes so much further than just the football field. I'm just trying to do things the right way." Brent Venables also said that when it came down to those players, he actually had encouraged them to consider their decommitment. And so with that all out there and on the table, again, the Clemson Tiger Dandy Dozen in the barn. We still have not heard anything from Jaron Kanak. Now, Kanak, you may recall, had an unbelievable run the other week during, I guess, either the playoffs or during his one of his final games. It actually made ESPN's highlights where he was just stiff-arming dudes left and right. It was pretty impressive, but Jaron Kanak did pull a little update. By the way, he's out of Kansas. He's out of the state of Kansas. But he did update his social media account, but still no word whether or not he's going to end up signing with Clemson. I mean, Dabo Swinney made it sound like this was the 12 guys that Clemson had and was expecting to have. And, I mean, honestly, who knows what Kanak ends up doing. You certainly can't fault the kid for wanting to take his time, especially if he was committed to Brent Venables. He's a kid that's from the Midwest. I think Clemson would love to have him. I don't think there's anything that he's done specifically. But I think that when it comes down to the decision, kids got to make the best decision for them. And so that's all you can do. And if he ends up in Oklahoma with Brent Venables, then good for the kid. I mean, why would you root against that? As a matter of fact, even if Brent Venables wasn't taking the high road and doing the right thing and still, showing his investment in Clemson by being loyal to Dabo Swinney, even still, if the kid wanted to go play for Brent Venables, that is what it is. And that's the world we're living in. And the kid still has time to make a decision. And I don't, in an era where we got to watch players toss caps around ridiculously, I don't have a problem with the kid taking your time. I don't have a problem with a kid who says, you know what? I'm going to make the decision that's best for me, and I'm going to take my time. And if the coach changes or moves, I'm not going to sign during the early signing period. I mean, there's really no quote-unquote true advantage to signing in the early signing period outside of getting on campus a little bit early. And I would make the argument that for kids, honest to goodness, in an era where they are so driven by the sports that they play and defined by the sports that they play, that it's not necessarily unhealthy for these young men to consider staying in high school and going to their prom and being kids for a little bit longer. I mean, I know the whole world wants to turn college football apparently into professional football with NIL deals and players getting paid. You see it coming left and right. But what's wrong with a kid saying, you know what? There's change at the top. There's change on the defensive side of the ball. I just want to take some time to think about it. I want to make the decision that's best for me. I have zero problem with Jaron Kanak making a statement, not making a statement, leaving his recruitment open, signing with Oklahoma, coming to Clemson. Doesn't matter to me if he does it in December, January, February, whenever. I want kids to make the best decision for themselves. And you should too, whether you're a Gamecock, Tiger, Bulldog, Yellow Jacket, or Seminole. But what I think we have to worry about is that without restriction, as I have said, with the inability for players to have a consequence really for the action of their decision of where they go, you are going to continue to get worse and worse choices being made by players. I just think that Dabo Swinney, I know he was criticized for what he said yesterday, and we'll play that audio for you, but I think Dabo Swinney hit the nail on the head. The investment, and we played it's like 5-minute clip. Matter of fact, I'm not going to play it for you because it's long. You can go catch the podcast yesterday if you want to hear it in its entirety. But the investment in players and their investment in their education still needs to be paramount, still needs to be at the top of what college football is about. And what surprises me about all of this, when you hear people like Shannon Sharpe being critical of Dabo Swinney and what Dabo Swinney had to say. He said, quote, "It's chaos right now, tampering galore, adults manipulating young men. Education is like the last thing now." And Shannon Sharpe said, quote, "Are coaches adults? When has education been first in college sports in Dabo's lifetime? 100% graduation rate gets you fired without winning. Time to share some of that money big programs are earning off of these athletes." Why is college and an education by a guy in Shannon Sharpe, who in his Twitter header says graduate of Savannah State University, Pro Bowl Hall of Famer, is not number one, 3-time Super Bowl champion is not number one. He himself has graduate of Savannah State University at the top of his Twitter account. Why is it wrong for a coach, and I don't just mean Dabo Swinney, I mean any coach, why is it wrong for a coach to believe that graduation rates in education shouldn't be paramount at the top of what your program is built on? You'll say, well, because you got to win, and that's what Shannon Sharpe says. But the fact of the matter is, if you are truly trying to do what is in the best interest of these players, of these human beings who have an opportunity presented to them that might not otherwise exist. It is not to say that all players playing college football wouldn't be in college if the game didn't exist, right? Like, there are plenty of guys who would qualify and would have gone to college. There is no doubt. But there are also a lot of players, whether it's financial, whether it's academic, whether it's just the fact of the circumstances of maybe having to go out and get a 9-to-5 and help put food on the plates in their homes. Some of these guys would not be in college. And you could make an argument, and I don't know what that number would be, that it's a big number. But if you don't allow the main thing to be the main thing, if you don't allow education to be the priority in collegiate sports, then what in the world are you focusing on? And how is that good for the sport when it is not professional? If the first thing in your Twitter bio is that you are a graduate of an institution and you were an athlete there and you went on to the NFL and you're in the Hall of Fame, then you, in and of yourself, have put out what is the most important thing. And just because Dabo Swinney's vision for what the most important thing is doesn't match up with what you believe the most important thing should be for college athletes, absolutely doesn't make him wrong. And Shannon Sharpe, quite frankly, should be ashamed of that take. No kidding. Yes, is college football the catalyst to success for so many players financially in the NFL? Yeah, but it's like Dabo said, it's 2%. 98% of these guys aren't going pro. And this is life-changing opportunities that they've been presented. Of Dabo Swinney's 13 full years as head coach, 309 of 315 players have earned a degree. 309 out of 315. And the other 6, I believe, are all playing in the NFL. It's not a, quote, 100% graduation rate, but, folks, it's as close as you get. This Clemson Tiger program is built on the right foundation. It's built around the right foundation that Tony Elliott is going to build his program at Virginia around. It's built on the foundation that you hear Brent Venables talking about. Contrary to what some people will say, and Gamecocks, look, you have every right to hate Dabo Swinney and you know, whatever, however you feel about him. You have every right. It's your arch rival. Okay? It is your arch rival. We get it. I get it. You get it. It's understood. But if you, for a second, will listen to your own head coach, Shane Beamer, you'll also hear the same things, which is what it should be about. Like, I love the fact that you hate me in November and I hate you in November. You know how this works. It's a rivalry. I've always said, if Carolina ceased to exist, I'd be a sad guy because you're the rival. You're the team that my fan base gets up for. You're the team that my listenership can't wait to beat. That's why we love sports. But if you can't appreciate, as a fan, the take that Dabo Swinney has on what's happening to college football, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you because it's the take that all college football coaches should have. College football and college athletics should always be driven by academics. It should always be the thing that is most important to the players who arrive on the campus. Yeah, you want to win championships. You want to win championships when you're playing Pee-wee sports. Everybody wants to win titles. Coaches get fired for losing. But the goal should always be on the success of the student athletes in the classroom. Student athletes. Student is first. Much like the tagline in Shannon Sharpe's resume on Twitter. College graduate. That's where the emphasis should be. Like, listen, I want my kids to play sports. I'd love for my kids to get college scholarships. I'd love for them to win championships playing college sports. But you know what I'd really love to see happen? I'd really love to see my kid graduate and earn their degree. I mean, that's the top of the mark. That's the goal. And then go out into the working world if you're not fortunate enough to play sports for a living. 803-450-0086. Look, I know it's a hot take. Education first. Wow. Swanny, you're really way out there, man. You are just, Swanny, you are. I don't know how you even have a sports talk show. Why don't you do a show teaching people how to calculate slope and y-intercept? No, I will not. Tried to do that to help my son this week. Holy cow. What in the world have I forgotten? Yeah. Any belief that if I had been studying defenses since 2009, I could have been the next Wes Goodwin. Went out the window last night when I could not figure out how to calculate the y-intercept or whatever it was we were doing with math. 803-450-0086. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk rolling along on a Thursday afternoon.